Hello there. Today's video, malicious compliance. Do you have any similar story? Leave it in the comments. $15 per minute. I've got another fun shipyard story I thought people might enjoy. So by this point in life I'd moved to another city and become a tugboat captain. I eventually built the show up enough that I had 2 boats and 3 guys working for me. It was a difficult business to keep functioning, but I did my best. We primarily did ship assist work and shifted dead ships around in various yards. A dead ship refers to one that isn't currently crewed up and running, so it's unable to move around by itself. Anyway, one of our customers was a great big shipyard that was constantly shuffling things around. They had 5 dry docks, a dozen WHIRLEYS cranes, several thousand feet of pier. It was a pretty big show. Well, this yard was in the habit of moving boats around on pretty much a daily basis. We'd get told boat A needs to be under crane number 6 at 0700, boat X needs to enter dry dock number 4 at 0930, things like this. The problem was that nobody there coordinated anything with each other. The superintendents barely talked to the shop foreman. The foreman didn't care what each other were doing, so we'd get these marshalling orders that didn't make any sense. If we did exactly as told, things would take all day, so I'd say, hey, if we do these in the other order, or hold this one move up by 10 minutes, then everything will work out a lot more smoothly and we can get out of here and quit billing you. Because keep in mind, this wasn't our only customer. We had other yards calling all day why needed their own work done, so to keep everyone happy we had to try and be as efficient as possible. Well, this was all fine and things operated along these lines for many years, with me being the de facto coordinator. One day though, they hire this new yard superintendent, the boss of the whole yard, who in the space of 3 weeks royally F's everything up. This guy calls me on the carpet as much as you can with a subcontractor and tells me to keep my nose out of it and do like I'm told. I say, you got it, boss, and honestly that was probably the greatest day of my life. I went back out to the boat, climbed up in my wheelhouse, and spent 8 hours doing 2 hours worth of work. I figured that this was going to get real expensive real fast, and once I had turned in an invoice or 2 someone was going to raise hell. Here's the thing though, no one ever did. Ever. We'd get told to do job X first, then do job B. Well, that's fine and all, but if done in that order we'd have to sit there and wait for 5 hours because X being in the way precluded B getting done. 5 hours. At $900 per hour for our 2 boats. It was ridiculous. It got to the point rather quickly where we'd get all set for the next part of the job and then just shut the engines down and relax. This went on for 15 years until, surprise surprise, that yard went out of business. I should mention too that isn't how I normally roll. I can't stand dragging my feet on purpose. In this case, though, I had to stop and say, Christ, no one appreciated my help when I was helping, and they don't even notice that I've stopped, so why am I trying to cut my own income if this customer doesn't even seem to care? How much water do you want, exactly? TLDR customer chooses to ignore simple procedure and receives 800 gallons of water in their living room. I deliver bulk water to people who don't have access to city water or their own private well. For nearly all customers it's a simple process, either they call for deliveries or they have agreed to automatic deliveries. When I show up, I hook the truck up to the fill pipe and start pumping, and either listen at the vent or hook up to an installed alarm in order to know when the holding tank is full. This particular customer had their holding tank installed in a small utility room next to their living room and didn't install a vent to the outside and refused to allow us to install an alarm because they didn't want us to put the 1/4 inch hole in the wall to run the alarm wire. Solution? They call when they need 2,000 gallons of water and we show up and pump exactly 2,000 gallons of water. This procedure worked without flaw for over a decade. Literally hundreds of deliveries with no issue. Owner deciding to sell. We are contacted by the new owners and set them up as a new account and head over for our first delivery and meeting. We especially go over the issue with us being totally unable to tell when the tank is full. We offered to install the alarm again for free, but they declined. So we let them know when they call for water they must be sure they have enough room in the tank for 2,000 gallons. Or to let us know how much water they have room for. We went over this several times and they laughed, saying they understood and would be calling when they were below the 2,000 gallon mark. 2 weeks go by, and we receive a message on our answering machine from the new customer. No gallon amount is specified. This set off a warning bell, though, because it was a household of 2, and it's only been 2 weeks since we filled them last. That's highly abnormal. We expected more like 5 weeks. So we call back just to double check. No answer, so we leave a message asking for confirmation. Couple hours later we try again. By the next day we had left 4 messages asking to confirm that they were ready for a full load. No reply. Well, they did call, so boss sends me out. I knock on door as a last attempt, still no answer, so I hook up, start the pump and set the timer so I don't overpump while reading my book. 15 minutes later I hop out to check the water meter, 1,700 gallons. I'll watch for the next couple minutes and shut it down. That's when I hear the front door burst open and the woman who bought the house and had called us in yesterday is screaming to shut the water down. There is water everywhere. What the hell are we doing? This woman has been ignoring our calls and even ignored me at her door, and now she is screaming at me. Apparently she had called when the tank was half full instead of down below the mark showing where the 2,000 gallons is, and just disregarded all our messages and didn't feel like talking to me when I knocked. So now she has 700 plus gallons of water in her living room. Boss was called out so she could scream at him. Husband came home from work so he too could scream at us, for reasons I guess. They made a lot of demands about how we were going to pay to fix it. Nope. Boss laid down how we saw the situation. You can keep the water free of charge, just don't call us for water anymore. You all are too stupid to work with. Never heard from them again. Lol, broken heart. Stop complaining about your neighbors. Okay. Sure. Now, that story is very recent and the told you so effect is never as sweet as this was. I have moved in an apartment with a roommate last summer. When we first came in, the biggest part of the sale was the fact that the apartment was freshly renovated and soundproof. This one is important, and you'll see why. So when we got in, my roommate immediately fell in love with it, and I was too. When we moved in, we were very careful not to bother anyone, as we wanted to quickly have a good relationship with our neighbors. Oh, did you see the new neighbors? They only move during the day, they don't make sound during the night. What nice people. Kind of deal, and we can safely say it worked. What we did not know, however, is that we were only 3 renters when we first came in. Us on the floor, another family upstairs on the opposite side, and another one on the 3rd floor, with one empty apartment between us. Turns out the soundproof statement was accurate, but only in regards to the inside to outside situation. When our upstairs neighbors moved in, it was a goddamn nightmare. Sound from 5 a.m. to past midnight, 5 days in a row, dropping stuff, speaking loudly, yelling or walking in their apartment with shoes on. Out of frustration on the 5th day, I walk upstairs and meet my neighbor at midnight. I ask them to cease their activities for the night. I have work in the morning and I cannot be kept up all night. I understand they were freshly moved in and they might have had a tight schedule, but midnight was too late to be moving stuff. He didn't reply and closed the door on me. I go downstairs and the sound starts over again. I notify my landlord and he tells me he'll handle it and apologized for the situation, explaining to me my neighbor was just moving and that he probably didn't understand what I was saying because of language barrier. The neighbors were extremely loud. I know a lot of Karen will use that as an excuse to shower their neighbors with hate, but when I say loud, I mean it. There was no stop to their loud noises. It seemed like they couldn't be bothered to hold something without dropping it, or jumping up and down on the floor, or purposefully banging the bed frame against the wall when having sex. I recorded the event and even installed microphones in my home, jacked to my computer, activating and recording every time there is strong vibration in the house. Over 98 events on Monday, February 14th. I was livid. I sent that to the landlord and explained this cannot continue. First, the apartment was poorly soundproofed, which meant we were hearing every damn sound at all time. Second, we had notified the neighbors about the situation, and they have ignored it. I have notified the landlord to awaken them to our situation. I report the issues several times and even advised my landlord that there were very heavy-sounding thuds coming from upstairs, which worried me. He answered with, "Stop complaining about your neighbors already. I have other things to do." I have answered, "Understood, sir. Please be advised this will be my last communication and action to help you in that regard. You know when I said I had loud bangs? Turns out our upstairs neighbor was doing bench press lifting in his living room, and the heavy thuds I kept hearing was him dropping his weights on the ground. I had warned my roommate about removing anything she didn't want broken from the living room, and lo and behold, 4 days later, the first crack appeared. Then another. The floor was giving up. I moved the couch out of the way and moved the TV and consoles into the bedroom. Fast forward to 3 days ago. After another series of loud bangs, I had a loud crack, followed by a "oh fuck," followed by very loud noises. I went to the living room to see my neighbor on the ground with several actually gruesome injuries due to the fact he just went through the floor and brought his bench and weight rack with him. I called an ambulance and the police. The police asked me if I reported the issue with my landlord, which I could confirm due to my communications being made via email. I sent everything, and I am now, of course, filing to break my lease due to uninhabitable dwelling. The landlord came in yesterday and just proceeded to explode. Told me I should have made him aware that my neighbor was doing dangerous things, to which I answered I had notified him about the very loud sounds and he never investigated, and that he also ordered me to stop complaining about my neighbors. It was not my responsibility to go out of my way to protect his assets if he is unwilling to cooperate with me. My neighbor's roommate and I are now residing in a hotel until we can find a new place to live. We are now also looking towards adding a bit more salt to the injury by maybe filing for criminal negligence against both our landlord and the neighbor. The first because the apartment was apparently having some flaws, and the latter for endangering us had I not caught up on what caused the sound earlier. Me, or, God forbid, my roommate could have been under that. Anyway, it was a fun week. And I do enjoy the accommodations of my hotel. Never went to a 4-star spa-included hotel before. Turns out the chocolate on the pillow is a lie, and I am very disappointed about that. TLDR, my neighbor was a noisy bastard that went through the floor with his weightlifting equipment, and my landlord ignored me when I complained about the noise. Edit, as I have advised to a few commentators, I followed up with my roommate, and she did not take pictures of the event. She got a bit mad I asked considering what just happened and questioned my priorities. I then explained that our Reddit story got a lot of attention and some people in the comments requested some visual proof. I will spare you her answer. I will just add that it's okay not to believe the story based on my word alone. If people actually didn't question it, I would be worried. When I posted this story, my only intent was to share my experience on Malicious Compliance, neat. If there was a horrible landlord bad neighbor Reddit I would have found prior to submitting this story, probably would have went there instead. I will also add that I am not an expert or an engineer. How and why something like weights and the like would cause part of the floor to collapse, I cannot say. Was there a structural damage prior? Was there water damage that never was addressed, just covered up? Was the structure just not as sound as I believed it was when I got in? I cannot say. I understand some of you might have worked in construction and never have experienced such an event or have actual reasons to suspect a lie due to personal and professional experience. Once again, you can and should question anything on the internet. I just hope you also apply that kind of skepticism, and I mean wanting proof or the opinion of an actual expert prior to making a decision, to more than just Reddit posts. For those who made us laugh and those who have spoken to us, who have been encouraging and constructive, people who actually gave us advice, I thank you very much. It was very nice of everyone, and I wish you the best. Update, my brother has agreed to take the case and look at the options. We are not feeling very vindictive, and our insurance are going to cover most of the costs, so we might file for negligence. I'm not a lawyer myself, I don't know the terms in English, but basically, the landlord should have had his building inspected before renting, which was apparently not done. Landlord has apparently calmed down after the events and has apologized for everything. He has scheduled a visit from an inspector to check the integrity of the apartment and the cause of the damage that would have allowed a human and exercise equipment to go through the floor and ceiling. In exchange for not pressing charges, he has agreed to reimburse all the money we have invested into the rent, our stay at the hotel and a little extra as an apology, and the guarantee to either repair the apartment and soundproof it properly, or, if it is not an option, to go back He will relocate us onto another of his building, which are a lot better than what we had, reduce our rent quite significantly for as long as we stay, with papers to back his offer up, and a full year of free rent. This is actually quite generous in the current rent market. I'm leaving the final say to roommate. On my end, I was not injured, she was not, and this could have been just a freak accident. Yes, the landlord is a bit of an ass, but let's be honest, we all had worse, landlord-wise. Plus, even if we take him up on his offers, the upstairs neighbor might be looking for some severe reparation. He did get injured, after all. But we would be happy to hear about your opinion. What would you say? Take this further, or just take the refund, plus the full year, rent-free year, and then low rent for the years to come. Comment from up. I just want to thank everyone for their kind words, their jokes, their encouragements. They have very much helped both of us and got us to smile a bit more. For the others, I do not wish anything less. I just hope you are doing well, that you are safe. I appreciate the effort of those who were still able to voice their disbelief while being respectful, and for the others, well, you know. It's the internet, what are we going to do? Love you all, stay safe, and thank you for your time. That all folks. If you like this content, please subscribe, hit the like button, and check out my next video. Take care.